Eugene Puleo, the head of commissions and the longest running team member here. Eugene, welcome. I was thinking in my head, let me ask Eugene if he wants to work here, but then again, he's been here forever. And how long has it been?
Well, April 1st, this past April 1st, 36 years.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. Time really flew, really flew.
What do you remember about that day?
Oh, specifically?
Yeah, because I've heard Dave's side. When I mean Dave, you know my father. I've heard that side of the story. But I want to hear your side of the story.
It is funny.
Yeah.
Because our first day, we had gone out to lunch to, you remember Mother's East Side Pub right on Route 110?
Yep.
And it was a day like today. You know, I don't know, it was April, but it was still very bright. I remember it being warm, but maybe not this warm, but it was warm. It was. So we went into it, and then when you go from the sun and then inside, it's just really dark. So I order a Mother's East Side burger. So we're just talking, and all of a sudden, I want to put ketchup on the burger. So I just grabbed the bottle and and I realized I had grabbed the beer and just splattered this whole beer all over the burger.
That's right.
So your father was dying. I was the underwriter at CNA, which was at the time probably one of the biggest writers of DBL. I mean, they would book everything. Yeah. And, your dad had the general agency.
He did it work when he was going to Hawaii all those, years? Explain that and how that worked out, right? Because I was little, but I remember really not having a dad and thought is he with a Japanese woman? What is happening? 12 weeks at a clip.
That whole thing with Hawaii was just like, even the introduction, he just wanted to go to another state. That it was statutory. Correct. Says California was all through the state. Rhode Island was all through the state. Yeah. Jersey we were dabbling in at the time. He says, Hawaii, why not?
Well, that's what you could appreciate, because unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that I had when he had passed became like relics. Yeah. I would find a coffee, like a napkin with a ring on it, and I said to my mom, keep that. There's a story behind all of those things, like a time capsule. And it was a different time, and I'm glad that I remember growing up and watching all of that. Yeah. So then you fast forward, and then what changed, in your opinion, from the 80s to the 90s in the business, from the 80s to the 90s?
The 80s just seemed like you could write anything.
The Wild West.
The Wild West. We were writing like nobody's business.
Who was your biggest carrier back then that you were doing?
Still, CNA was starting to phase out. And then Kemper, and then at the time we developed a relationship with Zurich. Very late 80s. There was just things going on with American Accident, if you remember that company.
Yeah. Neil, right?
Yeah, and then them going out, and then, Dave had approached Zurich. And Zurich knew of us. They were right down the block at the time, right on 110. And your father, he called up John Beveridge at the time and said, I'm coming down, let's talk. And then that's it, Zurich became like the #1 writer.
Not that it was a bad thing to do, but and I've said this in a previous video, I never wanted to come in to be like the Prince to the Kingdom, but he was a little hands-off, kept some things close to the chest, and that's what always feared me was, well, if God forbid always something happens, I always would say, you or him, and now I worry about bigger things, not that that shouldn't worry me, but explain where we've come since he passed away, in your opinion.
Wow, it's just leaps and bounds, and back to your dad, he did, believe me, it took him time for me to do commissions. And I remember your mom telling him, why do you have him?
Yeah, what's the point?
Why'd you hire him if you're not gonna trust? So then I think over the years, that's what your father trusted me. And he's not a person to trust anybody.
Yes.
And
right.
I felt that he trusted me.
Sure.
And I think it was there, and that he can do those other little, go to Hawaii and go here, and that his business was in good hands.
Sure.
And now, the progression with you coming in, obviously, it was a good term because you came in and gave your father ideas, and he was a little stubborn in the beginning, you said, Dad, I remember you coming in, he says, I got to pay these brokers 22.5 because everybody's paying 20, and then this whole doing the commissions things, that I'm a part of.
Well, explain that, get into that, for people who really don't know how much volume we're really doing and what you're tracking.
It's just insane, statements that, Mike developed, he took his father's ideas, your father's ideas, and we used to put it in manually by hand. Lisa would help me. Yeah. Statements like Zurich could be this thick.
Sure.
And enter in each entry, and that was insane.
Because it took away.
Yeah, it just took away time, and there was so much to do. You try to keep track of the delinquents, everything was so adequate.
Sure.
And you were giving your father these ideas, and it took time for him
And
to
now
really
what's funny
understand.
is we could upload a statement, like you said, this thick, in how long?
I mean, like 15, you got 15,000
And yet-
entries, and I could do it in a half
yet if it
hour
doesn't work,
after I
we get
scrape
mad.
through it.
If it doesn't work, we get mad because you're used to it being so quick. You become
No, we couldn't do it. Now with the volume that you've generated from the brokers you've obtained. Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a total 360. This whole thing with you developed, getting Max. There's no doubt about it.
our programmer. That's our secret sauce, right there.
And even moving into the new headquarters.
Yeah.
I finally got an office.
Yeah.
I mean, your dad kept it tight to the cuff,
Right.
and then,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm still enjoying it after 36 years.
Are you familiar with James Lipton from Inside the Actors Studio?
Yeah.
The guy with the beard. All right, you've watched that show on Bravo. He asks celebrities like yourself a bunch of questions, right? So I wrote them down because I'm like, well, I like some of these questions, but he asks all these celebrities. So the first one I have for you is, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word? Wow. Can't even think one off the top of my head. Oh, wait a minute. I know, because everybody, terrific.
Terrific?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. Let's bring it back. I know, I'm
Terrific.
thinking of stories.
Because I think it's Stern, and then the girls will be like, well, usually we did this. Like, okay, terrific.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's 2 words, but it would be okay, terrific. Definitely my favorite word.
What motivates you every day?
What motivates me every day? Same thing that's motivated me since I started working. It's hardcore values, just working hard and paying the bills.
What turns you off? Just in general. It doesn't have to be business related.
I'm really nothing, just what's...
But that's a testament to who you are, because like I was saying earlier, for people who don't know you, you're like the Jimmy Buffett of the insurance business.
Nothing really turns me off.
Well, and tell them you used to play guitar. We didn't get into that. Everyone has a passion, so get into that.
I've always played the guitar since I've been a kid, and then did wine and cheese little cafes, and then actually was in a band about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And just playing classic rock.
Sure.
Really love playing. I love singing. I'm more a singer than a good guitar player, but doing tunes like the Eagles and America and the Beatles and Tom Petty, and it was a lot of fun. The only problem is get up there at age, trying to set up for gigs at 10 o'clock at night when I'm ready to go to bed at this age. It was getting really kind of tough.
Sure. But that's good. It's a hobby. Like I had explained in previous videos about how I did the comedy, but even me burning the candle at both ends, 10 at night doing a show, it's a lot. You got to be up. So I guess that kind of answers like the next thing is if you were to have another profession other than this, what would it be?
Oh, I would love to be a musician.
Musician, I knew it. That was the segue.
Yeah, but I know it's ridiculous even. It's just crazy. Or get a job on the Long Island Railroad because they do very well, those guys.
All right. Yeah. All right. What would you like to see, since we've done all these changes we were talking about in 2-3 years, let alone the last 15? Because the first 5 or 6 was a learning curve.
Yeah.
Where do you want it to see you go if you had to sit back and go, this is where I'd like to see you do, or what would you want to see different?
No, I just think it's on the right path already. I think, I think you got the business going in the right path.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
Great.
Eugene
Pleasure.
Puleo, everybody.